Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 22 of a year of change. And welcome to week 4. We're starting up our 4th week of doing this program, so bravo. So as per usual, when we start up a new week, just do our little routine. Do your weigh-in first thing in the morning. Ideally, when you first wake up and sort of stagger around trying to get your bearings. Before you get that first cup of coffee, just do your weigh-in. I know I keep saying this, but it's worth repeating. Weigh yourself 3 times and always take the higher number. That way we're always on the same track and everyone's sort of weighing the same way. As far as the time frame, that's just generally I do mine before, like as soon as I wake up. Depending on what your sleep schedule is, it might be noon, it might be 8 at night, it doesn't really matter. Just whenever you decide to do it, it's always best to try to do it at the same time each weigh-in. So, and although we're a week apart on each one, it's still good to maintain that pattern, just like we've been doing for the past 3 weeks. So, being the start of a new week, we have a new food change. And it doesn't really sound like much, but in the long run, it's going to make quite a bit of difference for some of us, myself included. Last week, we added water to our diet. You've been tracking all your food and staying below. So this is going to be something that probably is going to have to watch the numbers a little closer. And it doesn't sound like much to begin with. But for some of us, it's going to mean a great deal. And that is condiments. Now, usually, we've been tracking things like if you've got like chip dip or a thick sauce or something like that. It's just sort of generally included in the meal. But I'm talking about regular things like ketchup, mustard, relish, mayonnaise, barbecue sauce, stuff like that. Because although you don't use a lot when on whatever you're eating, if you're eating a lot of them, it can quickly add up depending on what you're using. This one is going to be probably a tough one for me. I put mayonnaise on everything. Fries and hot dogs and hamburgers and fish and chips and just everything. So, and that's by far the worst of the bunch. So, once I start tracking that, it won't surprise me if I'm adding 4 or 5 or 600 calories a day just in that. So, because it does creep up on you. You don't think that you're using a lot, but if you're putting, say, a tablespoon worth, which doesn't sound like a lot, on a sandwich or something, then there's an extra 120 or 200 calories, depending on how much you're actually using. So it's almost as if you're adding an extra 2 pieces of bread to it. So that's going to be a rough spot for me because I tend to use that a lot. Now, there are some condiments that are pretty bad just in general for that. Mayonnaise is one of those, and tartar sauce, like the thick, creamy ones, just because there's so much fat in them. That's what you're going to end up getting your calories on. Mayonnaise is really, really bad. It's over 150 calories for 2 tablespoons, which is, it sounds like a lot, but when you're putting it on everything, and you have a little dipping thing to the side, it's going to add up very, very quickly. Tartar sauce, as I said, is another one. Stuff like ketchup and barbecue sauce and relish, it doesn't sound like they would have a lot, and they aren't too bad. There's probably like 50 calories to it, but that's mainly because of the amount of sugar that's in it. So, especially relish, which was really surprising because we did the pickles thing before, but it's just there's a lot of sugar in all of those, so they can sort of pile up. Not as bad as mayonnaise, not even close to mayonnaise, but if you use a lot of ketchup or barbecue sauce, especially like sweet or sticky ones, then that's going to add up for you. Now, there are a few which are really, really good that you can pretty much have as much as you want. And this is going to be my saving grace, I think, because I'm going to have to start steering away from mayonnaise and steering toward these. And the big two are mustard is one. Mustard doesn't have any calories. Doesn't have any calories? They do not have calories? Mustard. Yes, it's the singular. Okay. Sorry. Now, this is just the plain yellow mustard. Like French's yellow mustard. Because why would you buy anything else? Because it's such a shit. But once you start getting into things like honey mustard and Dijon, you're going to start adding a few calories here and there, like 15 or 20. I think honey mustard's pretty high, like 25 or 30. These are all things that you can double check, though, because my numbers could be way, way off. I just got a sort of a general comparison of them. So I don't know the exact numbers. I just know that mayonnaise is way up there and barbecue sauce is up there. Steak sauce is sort of in the middle because it's got the same ingredients as ketchup and barbecue sauce, but they've just sort of dialed down the sugar and added more vinegar. So if you prefer steak sauce to barbecue sauce, which I do, then you're probably okay. I find barbecue sauce is too sweet and don't really care for it. You're learning all sorts of information about me today. So mustard is one of the big ones. You can ladle that stuff on. It's just, there's hardly any calories to it at all. As long as you just do the plain yellow mustard. Because it's just mustard seed and vinegar, and that's pretty much it. The other one, which I'm very, very happy about, is Frank's Red Hot Sauce. This is just the standard hot sauce or his extra hot or whatever it is. Though that sort of line of their products, which again is from French's, hey French's for 0 calorie stuff, that has 0 calories to it. So you can pile that, I was going to say pile that shit on everything, but that's sort of infringing on their tagline, I think. Anyway, but yeah, the Frank's has 0 calories in it. Mustard has 0 calories. So if you like those, if you like the sort of tart, spicy stuff, then that's probably going to make things a little easier. I do like those, but mayonnaise is going to be my killer. That's the one I'm going to have to really, really look after. So for stuff like that, now again with the Frank's, once you get into like the Frank's buffalo wings or the different variations, you're going to start adding some calories to it. It's still fairly low, which I'm really surprised at, even their sweet sticky stuff. But you can go on their website and find out exactly how much is in each bit. So that if you decide that you are going to have something like that and you don't want just the standard stuff, then you can gauge appropriately. The other one that is going to probably add up fairly quickly is butter and margarine and oils, stuff that you cook with. Because we're going to include those in the condiments as well. If you put butter on your toast, like I do, if you cook with margarine all the time, then you need to, whatever your amount you're using, you need to add that as well. Because although there's still a lot left in the pan, your food absorbs a tremendous amount of it. So instead of trying to do the math and figuring out percentages and stuff, it's always better just to take, if you're using a teaspoon, then measure out a teaspoon and add that to the day. Now, one thing you can do, which I've switched over to for the majority of my cooking, is olive oil. Now, this isn't calorie-free or anything, but it's much better than butter or margarine. Now, if you don't like the taste of olives, and there are a lot of people that do, including myself, there's only one type of olive I actually like, you can get olive oil which doesn't taste like anything. It doesn't taste like olives at all. You can get stuff that tastes a lot like olives and something in between. So there's always something there that you can use, and it doesn't take much. A lot of it stays in the pan. And if you still want sort of like a buttery taste to something, you can always add some butter to it, and the oil actually prevents the butter from burning and turning brown. So a little tip there. But anything that we use like that, condiments, cooking stuff, we've already done sauces and things like that. And even, I suppose, you could put on like dry rubs, stuff like that. If you're using a lot of that, you're mixing, because you're probably mixing it with some stuff. We want to start tracking that, which is going to be a little bit different. The good thing is that on almost every single thing that you're going to be using, there's going to be that barcode that you can scan, or at the very least, an amount, and it usually goes by teaspoon or tablespoon. So as long as you measure out a teaspoon or a tablespoon, you don't need to do any math. And it's a little difficult when you're doing stuff with food, when it says, if you have 82 grams, and I don't have a food scale yet. I should probably buy one. But you sort of have to gauge what that is and compare it to other things. So a lot of our stuff is still sort of estimating, but with this, as long as you're not using a giant heaping tablespoon where you know that you're cheating, if you take a teaspoon or a tablespoon, you know how much is in there, and if you're 2 or 3 calories off, that's going to be okay. So it's going to be it's difficult because we're adding more stuff to track, but in the long run, it's going to be a little easier because the measurements are pretty much all there. So there's a way that you can actually change this in your diary as well. Instead of trying to just add little bits to your day, you can go in and add new fields so that in your MyFitnessPal, you have your breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks right now. I've gone in now, and you can do the same thing. If you go into your settings and then go to diary settings, there's a field there. It'll let you add 2 more. So just what I know that in the future, what we're going to be doing is tracking fluids as well. I've added fluids and then condiments to mine, and you can do the same if you want. You don't need to start tracking fluids now, but you can certainly put that field in there just so that you don't have to go back and do it again once we start tracking next week, I think, or the week after. So, and once you go in there, you can save all that, and then when you look on your mobile or when you're doing it online, you'll now see breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, fluids, and condiments. And the main reason why I separated mine was I wanted to see exactly how much I'm actually eating in added calories just from the mayonnaise, pretty much. But you'll notice as well that things like you can put in as much mustard and Frank's as you want, and you'll be fine. So for those of you out there that pretty much just use those, you're golden. You're not going to need to do much of anything. It's those of us that eat a lot of mayonnaise and barbecue sauces and ketchup and relish and all the other good sticky bits that's what's we're going to have to start curbing back on that. So I'll keep you posted as to how I'm doing. Actually, one thing I will mention as well, just sort of in keeping with that vein. If you want, I have actually changed my diary settings on MyFitnessPal as well, in addition to the fluids and the condiments, so that you can actually go up and you can see what I've eaten all day, every day. I've made my diary entries public. You can do the same if you want. You don't really need to. I'm mainly just doing this so that you have an idea, and sort of to keep me accountable as well, that every time I do a diary entry, if I enter something, say I enter in a ham sandwich or something, you'll be able to go in and you'll see what I ate for that day. You'll see the calories, and then at the bottom it tallies everything up as well. I've noticed I'm still eating a lot of fat. That seems to be my killer. And then there was the one day when I gorged on pickles and my sodium levels were, I think, something around 8,000. It was insanely high. I had 2 or 3 times as much sodium as I was supposed to have, which I'm not really worried about yet. We'll start tracking that stuff way down the line. Once we start getting into that, we need carbs and fats and sugars and all this stuff, we'll try to balance those out. I just did it because I wanted to see where I stood. And the vast majority of the times that I go over, it's for fat, which doesn't really surprise me. It's going to be a lot more now that I'm tracking things like margarine and butter and mayonnaise, stuff like that. So, but yeah, so if you want, you can go up there, you can take a look at what I'm eating. Not sure why you would, but I figured I'm going to keep things as open as possible. So that's just another added effect to it. And that is it. So this week we're going to start. It's, for me anyway, it's going to be a difficult thing to curb because I eat a lot of mayonnaise, and it wasn't until I started looking at tracking this separately that I thought this is going to come back to bite me. So I'm going to try to sort of steer myself away from eating things that encourage dipping or encourage mayonnaise, of those things. But, and I'm sure there are going to be some of you out there that are going to do the same, that eat a lot of barbecue sauce, or when you have your fries, you just douse them in ketchup. And ketchup isn't as bad, certainly not as bad as mayonnaise. So it's really things like mayonnaise and tartar sauce, that they're really oily, greasy, fatty, delicious ones that's going to be the hard part for us. I do enjoy Frank's and mustard, so I'm okay there. I could probably steer more towards that. I use a lot of Frank's when I cook stuff as well. But just trying to get out of that habit of having mayonnaise on everything, or you'll have like fry sauce or Southwest sauce, those creamy sauces, or creamy condiments. That's what's gonna really be bad for me. I was trying to think of another word, but it was just bad. That's all I can think of. So this is sort of one of my more difficult weeks, I think, just getting into that groove. But you'll be able to see how I'm doing. You'll be able to see if I go over. And I'm going to try really hard to not have any just for this first week. You don't have to do that, obviously. You don't go too far the other way. But I just want to see normally when I would have that, when I would have it in my diet. And hopefully open my eyes as to how much I'm actually eating, because I go through way, way more mayonnaise than I do of anything else. So, but that is it for this week, or for this video, not for the week. We'll be doing stuff later on during the week. So, you can go in, add that new field if you want. If you want to just include it as part of your regular diet, that's up to you. The main thing is, as long as we're tracking it and tracking it accurately, then we'll be able to tweak things here and there. And for most of you, it's just going to be having one handful less of fries here, or having one less hot dog, things like that. For others, like me, it's going to be a fairly major diet change. But you can still have it. Just make sure we don't go over that number once again. If you want to spend your entire day's calories just eating mayonnaise, which would be so gross, you can do that. As long as we don't go over those numbers, then we should be fine. Now, keep drinking the water as we have been during this week. Next week, we're probably going to add some more to it and tweak it a little bit. There are some of you that are probably still adding like Crystal Light or something to it, which is still okay. As long as it's not adding calories to it, then we're good. So we're still on track. We're starting our 4th week, and just you've gone 3, you know you can go that far. Do one more, and then you can actually say that you know that you can do an entire month. So that's a good milestone. Maybe we'll figure out something that we can do for that. But until next time, thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.